Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. Here's your encouragement today on why consistency is better than intensity. So, hey, if you're like me, you've probably done something like this where you've said to yourself, you know what, I want to be consistent. I want to, eat good, or I want to make sure that, I don't know, I'm good with my finances, or I want to improve my life in some way. And so you set out a plan for yourself. You want to be successful. Earlier this week, I talked about success just simply being setting a plan and fulfilling the plan. And so those small habits that start to build for you over and over and over will eventually lead to really good success later on. Now, how do you do this? Because we're prone to the idea that, you know what, I'm just going to be intense about something. Intensity is far more attractive to us than consistency is. And I'm going to get into why. So, the first reason that we look at is what happens when we are consistent? Well, I put here in the description of the video that 10,000 steps a day is going to equal about 70 marathons a year. Isn't that incredible? 10,000 steps equals about 70 marathons a year. I know if you told me, hey, you've got a marathon coming up and you've got to be, you got to do this thing, you could tell me it's like 3 months in advance and I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed about it. But if you said, hey, can you walk 10,000 steps a day? All of a sudden that seemed manageable for a second. It's that we don't value those small things that we do every day adding up to be really big in our life. And so I've got a couple of examples for you as to like what that would look like. Did you know that if you just read 10 pages a day, that's somewhere between 12 and 15 books a year? If you decided to write 2 pages a day, just journal it down. You'd be writing about, 10 pages a day, you'd be around, 2 books a year you'd be able to write. Isn't that incredible? And just even with saving just a little bit every single day can add up to a lot of money as compound interest starts to apply. We start to see this over and over and over in life, that the small little actions actually add up to have huge ramifications. Now, the opposite is also true. The reciprocal is also true. Letting ourselves go in a different direction, not getting better every single day, actually getting worse can end up in the worst areas, right? We start saying to ourselves, you know what, I don't need to do that thing over and over and over. We let ourselves go with spending. We let ourselves go with our health. We let ourselves go with our business. And we don't decide, you know what, I'm not going to be outbound today. You know what, I'm not going to outreach today to my clients and my database, to my community, and not provide them with great reasons as to how I can help them. When you start doing that over and over and over and that reciprocal happens, we end up going the opposite side. So I'm going to give you a few ways that you can kind of break this down for yourself and you can keep it super manageable. And the first one is just that, making it manageable. Most of those times, just like the marathons, if you said, hey, you got to do a marathon, that's not that hard if you're doing 10,000 steps a day. In fact, those 10,000 will add up to 70 marathons in a year. You got to make something manageable. I have a coaching program where I teach people, and the basis of it is this: brick by brick, step by step. We're going to make it to the smallest common denominator we can. So let me give you an example for that. People who want to sell 24 houses in a year, it seems pretty daunting. But if I could tell you that if you just made 8 voice-to-voice connections a day, you could actually do that. And you're like, what? Are you serious? 8 voice-to-voice connections a day? That's it? It's like, yeah, cool. That might take you an hour. It might take you 2 hours to sit on the phone. But if you made 8 voice-to-voice connections and you had your value proposition of how to help people, not to sell them, but how to help people. If you follow that plan, you'll sell 24 houses in a year. Now that all of a sudden is manageable. So every time that we want to be consistent rather than intense, we want to make something absolutely manageable. Now the second thing you want to do is knowing that showing up for yourself is better in the long term. Showing up every day and even putting in a little bit of effort is far better than showing up once or twice a week, really intense. I'll give you the example of this. I was in a competition recently, actually it was last year, and Molly and I did a fitness competition. And it was all about rowing, and we had, we bought this rowing machine with friends, and every day we would post our results. And the whole goal was to see, how far you could row in a single week. And so we would get on, and there would be this one guy, and his name was Tyler, and every single day he would just row. It was like 10 miles, and then that was all he would do. But Molly and I would be like, all right, you know what, we missed today, we'll make it up tomorrow. And we'll do, another, we'll try for 8 miles, we'll try for 10 miles. And by the end of the week, we would try to get into this place where we're like, okay, it's Saturday. If we just row 35 miles, we'll be able to catch up. And what would end up happening is we tried to cram all that, and people do the same thing with savings. They do the same thing with their health. They do the same thing in a lot of different areas of their life. And they trade consistency for intensity for consistency. And when we do that, we end up not realizing the results. We think that it's going to be easier, but it's actually not. We think, oh, well, it's just one day that I'm going to have to work out rather than 5 days, and that's going to save me the time. But we actually never get the results that we do. I know this for my own thing, and I'm vulnerable about it. I still struggle with getting my fitness workouts and everything else on a consistent basis. Why? Because I value other things that are more important. The next thing I want to suggest is valuing the small things are just as important as valuing those large things. Most of the time in life, we're like, oh man, we got to value the squeakiest wheel, the thing that is like the most painful. And when we do that, we're always paying attention to the fires that are around us. And it's actually training our brain to always just look for the fires rather than to look for the consistency. So when I do that for my own business, my business has very critical KPIs for myself. I'm like, okay, cool. I want to meet with 5 real estate agents a week, and I want to make sure that I get my workouts in every single week. If I do that, everything else in my life works out. But when I don't do that, it could be 6 months, 9 months, a year, things are not playing out the way that they need to. So tying those things together. And the last one is stacking things together that you're already doing. So find something in your life that you are consistent with and just adding that on. So for myself, I know that I'm always going to go to the office on a Friday to make sure that, I've got my admin meetings and everything else. I'm going to tack on maybe some recording videos right on the side because I know that the more content that I have for agents in the agent community, the more helpful it is. All right, guys, hopefully this is helpful. Trade today. Look at your life. Think about consistency versus intensity and how it can benefit your life. I hope this is helpful for you guys. We'll see you soon.
If this video has been of value to you, then go ahead and click that subscribe button, especially if you're looking for more content as a team leader to grow a profitable team or as a real estate agent just to get started in your business with top tips. Thanks so much for watching.